3, 2, 1.
You were told GLP-1 and other peptides are fairly straightforward. What you weren't given was full informed consent, not the full range of effects, not the uncertainty, not any trade-offs. And that's what we're blowing up today. We are your whistleblowing shrinks, Dr. Teralyn and therapist Jenn, and this is the Gaslit Truth Podcast. Before we set this whole conversation on fire, make sure you like, subscribe, ring that bell if you're over on YouTube. Supporting it matters.
And everyone, just remember, Dr. Teralyn and I are deep prescribers. What does that mean? It means we can help you get off psychiatric medication safely for the brain and for the body. So if that's something that you have interest in doing, please shoot us an email at thegaslittruthpodcast@gmail.com. And today we are going to welcome back Dr. Josh to the show. Thanks for coming on, Dr. Josh.
Hey, thanks for having me come back.
We couldn't get enough. Like you're our resident MD on the show.
Yes. So great. We couldn't get enough. We had to have him back.
Wow.
For those of you who weren't here the first go around and don't know too much about Josh, Dr. Josh Helman, MD, is a Harvard-trained physician. He is licensed in 14 states. He holds 2 degrees in biochem, bachelor's degree, magna cum laude from Harvard, and a master's degree from the University of Cambridge in the UK. His medical degree is from Harvard Medical School and MIT. He's board certified by the American Board of Emergency Medicine and the American Board of Lifestyle Medicine. He is the former and current medical director of the Hippocrates Health Institute, as well as the chief medical officer of 2 different Alzheimer's reversal centers, Brain Power Clinics and Alzheimer's Treatment Centers of America. Dr. Helman is inspired by people's ability to change those bad habits and adapt a better lifestyle in order to prevent, improve, and reverse chronic diseases like Alzheimer's. Welcome back. Woo! That is like, I get excited when I read your bio.
I get impressed just when I read the bio alone. Like
I am not worthy.
Worthy.
Like, I can't. All right, enough of the Wayne's World references.
Thanks, Jenn and Teralyn. It really is good to be back.
Yeah, glad to have you. So we're going to dive into the hot topics, and there's 2 of them, GLP-1s and peptides, which GLP-1 is a peptide, correct? Am I right about that?
So it really is it's part of a larger topic, definitely.
Mm-hmm. All right. So where would you like to dive in today, Dr. Josh?
Oh, let's first talk about what GLPs are, and first let's talk about peptides, because that's the much larger category, and specifically, peptides are simply a collection of molecules that have more than one amino acid, and so it's a peptide. It's a collection of, or a string of, different amino acids, and peptides specifically, if you get a really long series of amino acids, that forms really large proteins. But normally peptides are thought of as much smaller proteins that can actually have some signaling ability. And that's what we're going to be talking about here, because both GLP-1s and many other peptides have signaling roles, meaning they're communicating like a hormone from one cell to another, and it could be in different parts of the body remotely. So, and let me give you some examples about peptides. It's not just GLP-1s. You may have heard of insulin. Insulin is a peptide.
Yeah.
So it's kind of funny. People will say, Dr. Josh, what do you think about peptides? I'm like, well, they're really important, things like insulin, but there are also peptides that are highly toxic. There are certain snakes that produce venoms that are peptides. And if you unfortunately get bitten by a snake with those peptides, you could easily die, because some of those peptides will, for example, go to your heart and stop your heartbeat. So, they can be very helpful, but they can also be deadly. So it's funny when people ask me, Dr. Josh, what do you think about peptides? It's like, yeah, they're really important, but you have to know what you're doing. And and what scares me is people think that, if it's a peptide, it must be safe, and I'm going to try as many different ones as possible because I heard someone say that they were good for me.
Or that they could change my life, or, make me lose weight, or all these things. And I think the problem that I have with it is it's just another it feels like, and this is why you're on the show, another one of these things that's like too good to be true, kind of oversold as like the greatest thing ever that's going to change everything about your life and make everybody better. And that's where I have the problem, because I think that's where the lack of the informed consent comes from. Anytime we oversell anything, I go, that's a snake.
How does the body like explain this to like how you would explain it to like a 10-year-old? How does the body,
i.e. me, explain
Jenn
it to
right
me
here.
like I'm gonna tell
the
you.
end of the day for me?
Yeah.
Okay, well, no, and for our listeners too, right? Like not every, because we're going to connect peptides and branch this into GLP-1s, because when you say GLP-1, people are like, oh, I know exactly what that is, right? How does the body make these peptides? How are they created?
It's fascinating. So the peptides are created inside of the cytoplasm. There's a really small machine that converts the signal from DNA to RNA, and then from the RNA, the nucleic acid, there are machines in the cell that are actually producing the proteins. And then there are machines that will take a protein produced from the RNA and specifically chop it up or add other molecules to it. So
Okay.
it's a complicated, that's the whole point. And I like Teralyn's concern that there are nuances to this. And just to think, just because something is a peptide, therefore I should be taking it because I heard someone had good results with it. You really have to personalize this. And, as an example, insulin is a peptide. But if I give you a large dose of intravenous insulin, I could kill you because your blood sugar would drop too quickly, too rapidly. And without blood glucose, life is not compatible without having some fuel with sugar. So yeah, it's not just which peptide, but what dose and how you're going to deliver it. And we're talking about the human body, which is extremely complex, and it's more complex than we understand right now. And I think we all have to be humble to some degree about it, because sure, we understand a lot about it. We don't understand everything. And as you know, when you're dealing with a super complex system that, like as an example, GLP-1s, there are GLP-1 receptors throughout, not just the gut, but also in the brain, and it does different things in different parts of the brain. So just to think, well, and to give you another example, if you look at Ozempic and many of these other, which is another name for semaglutide, and these other GLP-1 peptides, when you take those, if you take those peptides, what will happen is in the normal doses that are being prescribed, it will actually increase your GLP-1 levels by 6,000 times. 6,000 times. So this is what we call supratherapeutic. Now, which is huge, as opposed to, if I increased your insulin level 1,000 times, we would potentially have some problems with your blood sugar going down way too much, unless you have severe insulin resistance. So, yeah.
So, okay, stupid question, not stupid. There are no stupid questions.
No.
All right. My simple brain, because I don't know a ton about peptides, right? So I'm learning along the way here. Okay. Do we actually do testing on the body to see where those levels are at, to know that there's, say, a deficiency in like creating the GLP-1, for example? Like, are we actually assessing and measuring and testing all of this before we're dumping like this kind of a peptide into the body?
So with most peptides, we are not. So in terms of clinically easily available peptide levels, for insulin levels, yes, you can measure someone's insulin level.
Right.
But apart from that, normally, no. Normally, you're not measuring GLP-1 levels or some of these other peptide levels in the body. And then um, that raises the question, where in the body would you get the tissue from? I mean, sure, it is actually useful to know what your insulin levels are in your blood. But what we're talking about here is not just the levels of these things in the blood. Is when we're talking about the brain, I want to know what the levels are in the brain. And you can't just say, oh, because the level is this in the blood, therefore it's also the same in the brain. Often it's not,
Right.
because of something called the blood-brain barrier, and or it's not a linear relationship.
This is all the
Okay.
same conversations we have about psychiatric medications.
That's
It's
why
the
I'm
same,
asking.
Right.
it's the same
I-
thing.
I'm-
Like it's just
That was the whole
insert
thing.
new
I'm
drug here. Yes, like
This is what I'm contemplating, because I'm constantly thinking, well, what's the cause of this, right? So if I'm not producing these peptides, that would make sense, because my body's natural, it's not producing them, right? And we can see that by measuring it, and that I don't have that, it's not producing it, right? It's the whole like,
Sure.
you have a serotonin deficiency, but we're not going to test it. We're just going to say, there's an imbalance there, and boom, here's the drug. So I'm trying to wrap my brain around, is specific more so to, I guess, the GLP-1 piece of this is how do we know what's causing this, that we would need to go, okay, we're going to increase that peptide by 6,000% in the body because it was deficient. If we don't measure the fact that it's deficient.
Yes, 6,000 times. And
Sorry, 6,000 times, yes.
yeah. I mean, so
what did you
get
say? 600,000? I don't know. What
1,000%.
I said
It's actually, so it's even higher. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, yeah. Explain that. Can you or not?
yeah, I can try. So
Okay.
what
Mhm.
you're asking a perfectly valid question, but that's normally not how new drugs get developed.
Right.
So in the case of GLP-1s, it was originally developed as a drug for diabetics who
Correct.
blood sugars were too high. And then as an accident, they found, these patients are actually losing weight. Why don't we study why these diabetic patients who happen to be on these GLP-1s to control their blood sugar, why is it that they're also losing weight? And then in studying that, they found, it's the GLP-1s are actually slowing down the digestion in your gut. And by the way, it's also decreasing in the brain stem and in other parts of the brain. It's turning down the appetite for hunger and other addictions. So as with many medications, we backed into this accidentally.
Yep.
And of course, we want people who are overweight to help them lose weight, but we want to do it safely. But you're asking an obvious question, and it's just, you're dealing with a system that is so complicated. And yeah, I would love to know the different levels of these different peptides, for example, in the brain. But unless you're using some type of high-tech, advanced MRI, functional MRI, which, unless you're in a research lab, you don't have access to.
Right.
So, and again, technology is getting better, but even with advanced technology, we're still dealing with super complicated systems. And, to Teralyn's point, what we want to do is, sure, we want to fix problems, but we want to do it safely. And my first concern with these GLP-1s is that the standard dose, I think, is way too high. Because
what's the standard dose? What is that?
So for example, a standard starting dose for Ozempic or semaglutide might be 0.25 milligrams a week, or one of the newer agents like tirzepatide would be 2.5 milligrams per week. Whereas if we wanted to, instead of doing supratherapeutic, increasing it by 6,000 times, why don't we just increase it by 6 times? Then it would be a much, much lower dose. So what happened here is that they were pushing in the studies to show I think, frankly, as large weight loss as they
Mhm.
can.
Sure.
I'm thinking
And
like the need for speed.
Oh yeah.
right,
Right?
right,
I've got the
Yes.
need for speed.
right.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, if you go with the much higher doses, it opens you up to some pretty bad side effects. And when I say
Mhm.
side effects, these are normally not advertised. I mean, there might be fine print someplace, but side effects like, well, let me give you even an example: weight loss. Let's say you lose, let's say you lose um, uh, 20 pounds in whatever time period in a few months. What they don't tell you is of the 20 pounds, a third of that is muscle. You're
Yep.
losing a third. So it sounds great. Oh, you lost 20 pounds or lost 30 pounds. But if
Mhm.
it's 30 pounds and of those 30 pounds, 10 of those pounds are muscle, that's normally not good.
Mm-hmm.
We want to keep muscle on. So I think that's one area where it's, I wouldn't say false advertising. It's not complete disclosure. And
Right.
and 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 one way around this is to find a good doctor, a good clinician who's willing to be upfront about this and say, "Oh, you know what? If you're going to be on this medicine, you need to be exercising so to
That's
Because
counteract
like
this."
it's a non-negotiable. That's the thing. Like
yes.
if I'm going to prescribe this to you, the non-negotiable as a patient is you're going to do your part so you don't make yourself worse, right? Like
Right.
yeah.
That should be the first. I put safety first, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Another side effect that is common, that is, I think, dose related, is related to the nausea or vomiting.
Mhm.
Basically, one of the things these GLP-1s do is slow down the gut. It slows down peristalsis.
Yep.
And guess what? If your gut is no longer moving, things back up, and you can
Mhm.
feel that as nausea or vomiting,
Mhm.
things like that. So, and as you increase the dose, your risk of nausea and vomiting and other really bad side effects like gallbladder disease, you can
Mhm.
get gallstones if things are slowing down, what we call the enterohepatic circulation. And then further back up, you can get pancreatitis.
Yep.
And again, these risks are higher if you're at a much higher dose. So what scares me is often the first response from a clinician when their patient says, I'm not really losing a lot of weight. They'll say, oh, let's just go up and up and
Jack
up,
it up.
up
Mhm.
and up and up. And then, there is a risk of medullary thyroid cancer that I think was downplayed, but it's a real risk. We don't have 20 years of experience
Yes.
with these specific GLP-1s that are being released in humans for 20 years. And that raises another point, because if you stop these medications, and I know you're both amazing prescribers. I don't know, have either of
Not for
you,
this.
no,
Not on that. No.
this hasn't reached your radar yet.
Mm-mm. No.
But this is a real issue. If you say, you know what, I'm tired of getting a shot every week,
Mhm.
and it's super expensive. I want to stop this. Well, guess what? You're going to regain all that weight, because, to my mind, this is a temporary solution. And now,
Well, they're
some,
not they're
right,
not they're not selling it as a temporary solution anymore. They're
I
they're
I just
selling it
I can't. Yeah.
yeah,
Well,
they're
and we
selling it
never
as this
address
is
the
a
problem.
lifetime thing. This is a lifetime like a chronic disease state. Your
It's
chronic disease is obesity, so you'll have to be on it forever. But I think they do that because then the data looks different, right? So, the data of when you stop, but that was going to be my next question. If you are, increasing something by 6,000 times and then you take it away, I probably have that number wrong too. Then you
no,
take it
no, no, no,
away like
you have it exactly right.
okay. All right. Then you take it away, like, what happens? Like, what
Yeah.
is your body like, your body
what
has
happens
to
to your
respond to that.
brain? Like, I want to know
Then
what
there's that.
happens to the brain when we just removed that. Like,
Yeah. So, so,
Mhm.
so, Jen, what happens often is the addictions come back. Suddenly
No, we
you're
never
create
fixed the problem. We
right,
never
right,
Yeah, okay.
right. We
Yeah.
basically froze
Yeah.
the problem, and your gut will start going back to normal speed. Let me go back to side effects just for a second, because one of the side effects is if you have a poor diet, like many people in this country do,
Mhm.
and you turn down the speed of peristalsis or gastric emptying, what happens is that the food stuff that is inflammatory and toxic spends more time in your gut, and then there's more
Mm.
potential for toxins and other
Mhm.
bad things to be transferred from inside your gut to inside your body. So that's another problem of massively slowing things down.
That
Um,
makes so much sense. That makes so much sense when you think
Huh.
about it. So then I think there's also like the side effects. I don't want to just talk about the physical ones, but like what Jen was talking about, the mental health side effects of these. Loss of pleasure,
right.
right? I mean, yeah, loss of pleasure is huge. Why are we so interested in trading out our pleasure? Like we trade out our pleasure with psych meds, we trade it out with this. Like we're so interested in having a zero pleasure. But anyway, that's a whole different side note.
Well,
But
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 to answer your question, I think the reason why is because hunger and a lot of other addictions are such important survival skills, right? So, you think of our ancestors. If our ancestors lost the urge to eat and then lost the urge to either gather food or hunt or whatever they were doing, then they wouldn't survive and they wouldn't pass their genes on to people like us.
yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking about fundamental survival mechanisms that unfortunately in our modern society where food, high calorie dense food, is available 24/7, that we get into this problem of hypernutrition type of
Yeah.
stuff.
But also, I just wanna raise this, and if I'm wrong, correct me, but, the pleasure principle is not just pleasure of life, it's also, sexuality stuff too, so that makes a lot of sense that it's shutting down those basic survival mechanisms, and that includes procreation, that includes sexuality and pleasure, and it does shut all of that down just so we can lose weight,
Right,
just so we can
right, and
Mhm.
the other thing that's really important is when you stop taking calories, whether it's because you're on semaglutide or let's say you decide to go for a fast just on
Mhm.
your own, what happens is you get weak and tired if you don't have enough calories. So
Right.
not only is it lack of pleasure or lack of uh, drive, it's also just lack of energy to do anything.
Mhm. And so there's also it's interesting because we know somebody that works for a GLP-1 online clinic, and, they had to develop protocols for suicidality because they were getting phone calls in for people wanting to they had suicidal ideation. So, I don't know where that comes in, but I know that is definitely something that nobody is telling people that could happen with these medications, or they're dismissing it altogether as, being rare. Like, we use the words rare all the time. That's rare. This is safe or safer than other things. Like it's just stupid language. But I know that's a side effect too, which nobody's talking about.
Let's talk about that a little bit more because it turns out some of these companies like Novo Nordisk, I mean, you can look this
Mm.
up. There have been 3 warnings from the FDA to that company in the last 6 months,
Oh.
specifically for underreporting
Oh.
the side effects, including there was a death from suicide a couple
Mm.
years ago, and the company said, "Oh no, we don't think it was from our product," so they didn't
Right.
report it. And that goes under the category of advertising, etc. So so you're exactly right. It's often with new medications, we don't often know the full result for many years after it's released.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, if it's up to the company to report it, and then if they're basically putting their hand on the scale, we may not actually realize, because as we sit here today, I don't know the true risks of suicidality from these
Right.
GLP-1s.
Right. Well, I think the more you present them to a mass audience, right? Like the general people, not just someone with diabetes, right? Like you're giving it to anyone
Mhm.
and everyone that will either pay for it in some way, right?
It's so easy to obtain these drugs now. I mean, and easy is a fair word.
Right.
It's so
Oh yeah.
easy. I mean,
Oh yeah.
I have
Plenty of
watched.
places online.
Oh, you can go online. I mean, I even for shits and giggles one day decided to see how far I could go doing it online, and I got myself all the way almost to the end of
To
being
the
able.
credit card.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
and I was like, "Okay,
Right.
we're done," but it would have been that easy for something like this to just show up and be shipped to me that I could have if I was willing to pay for it. I had a consultant, "Do you have any questions?" on the other side asking me if I had questions, and I'm
Mhm.
like, I can't believe this is how easy it is to receive this and get this."
Right, right, and on top of that, I don't know if you're both aware of this. I mean, I'm getting offers to if on from social media because, like you, I have a social media presence. I'm getting offers. Would you like $200 if you post something positive about GLP-1s? So
Yeah.
there is if
Yeah.
you're relying like many people do on social media for
Mhm.
their
Mhm.
information about medical topics, you have to understand that you may not be hearing the negative side because there's really no one offering to pay money to
Mhm.
post something negative about GLP-1s. They want you to
Right.
post positive things.
Well, just like the other stuff, like when Jen and I post negative stuff about psychiatric medications, we're always going to get the pushback of people that it was life-changing to overdo any of the negative stuff. But I've talked openly on here. I've tried GLP-1s in the past and they destroyed my stomach. I literally couldn't leave the house because, you know, bad things would happen. I felt trapped in the house and I was like, this is not worth it for me to do this. And I kept thinking like what am I destroying over
R
time
How is
by
this
taking this
implicated in
on now?
the gut microbiome? Like, I
Yeah.
just keep thinking about how the gut microbiome is going to be impacted by something like this, which we all know has a direct relationship. It is in a marriage with your mood and your sleep and all the things,
Mhm.
right? Like that's so can you speak to that at all, Josh? Because I think that is something. I mean, that probably doesn't get discussed when you're being handed a GLP-1. And let's talk about like we're gonna really screw your gut up, and this is
I don't
what
think
it's
your
gonna
gut
do.
health is discussed for anything at this point,
I mean,
really, except
yeah. I don't. I mean,
anyway.
Yeah,
I
no,
think about that.
yeah, no, you're exactly right. If you slow down your gastric emptying, gastric peristalsis with a GLP-1 agent, it's definitely going to change the health of your microbiome. And there have been some studies that show that. So um I know I feel like I've been beating up GLP-1s, and what I'm trying to say here is, you know, do your homework and
Right.
find a clinician who's willing to go low and slow, because I think
Mhm.
that's the safe way to approach it. Can I just talk about some positive things I see about
Sure.
GLP-1s? Because
But
because my
but
yeah, yeah.
before you jump into that, I
Okay.
wanna also add in there, like, doing the online stuff for GLP-1s, like, find yourself a practitioner that's actually gonna help you with your nutrition along the way, that's gonna help you with some
That
movement exercise and muscle
that
tone and things like that, like, those conversations are important, and they're left out on the online world, so anyway. Yes,
Right,
Josh, now let's
right.
talk about positive things.
Right, right, and what's also interesting is that they are there are specific foods you can buy out there, specific diet that's tailored for people who are on GLP-1s because they have
It's a
such a
good thing?
slow. I mean, I think it makes sense, sure, that
Okay.
you suddenly, hopefully the diet is much lower in fat because you you're at now an increased risk of gallbladder disease,
gallbladder.
Mhm.
and we know that high fat foods put more stress on both the pancreas and the gallbladder.
Mhm.
So, um, so I think it's a good thing that there's been a response. I just yeah, um, but in transition, I don't think so. I'm a big fan of both peptides and GLP-1s long term once we've got more research in. So there's been some suggestions that GLP-1s may help prevent or even reverse Alzheimer's, but the research is way
Yep.
too early.
Yeah.
But the research I've seen, there's much more hope with what I call micro dosing instead of the mega doses 6,000 times the normal levels. If
Yeah.
instead of 6,000, let's say we can increase it maybe by 6 times, that there's hope there, and specifically increase it in certain parts of the brain. And I say these studies are early because they're kind of hints, suggestions, but it's not as we sit here today. I can't show you a study that says yes, this GLP-1 is FDA approved for
Right.
preventing or reversing Alzheimer's. The data is not that clear yet. It turns out the one hopeful recent study was on a very old GLP-1 that has more penetration into the brain, but the one that didn't show any positive results, semaglutide, was a lower dose that didn't get to the brain, which makes sense because I'm looking for an effect in the brain, not necessarily directly in the gut.
Would that be for older people or any age people with the Alzheimer's connection here?
Yeah, so it turns out obviously most of my patients with Alzheimer's are 55 and older. So, but when you're talking about Alzheimer's, normally it takes 30 years to develop. So it makes sense if we could develop something that's going to be protecting their brain for decades in a safe fashion. That would be
Yeah.
helpful.
Because I think about like right now, like elderly, if they're being prescribed GLP-1s, and they are, and then they're losing muscle tone at the same time, right? Like how I guess at the low dose, it wouldn't impact the muscle tone the same way, maybe, or it wouldn't cause the weight loss like it does in the higher doses. Because I'm thinking GLP-1s, like, are they just going to constantly lose weight for the rest of their life, or what happens there? But if we microdose, maybe the outcomes are different, is what you're saying. Because I worry about the older population and the muscle loss, because that's not a good thing, just in the quest to be thin.
And you raise a good point that often the patients who need muscle the most are some of the more senior patients who
Right.
are wasting away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but often those trends start years or decades earlier.
Right.
But again, I am a big fan. I'll give you an example of a peptide I'm a big fan and recommend for most of my patients, and that is glutathione. Glutathione is 3 amino
glutathione.
acids
Mhm.
stuck together. That's the master detoxifier. I find that glutathione levels are going down in my patients, and many of my patients have very high levels of toxins. If I can get the glutathione levels up, then often I can get their toxins out of them and their brain starts working again. So, just to be clear, I am not against peptides, but what concerns me is when they're released to the public without full disclosure, as you mentioned, Teralyn,
Mhm.
and without a go low and go slow approach. So, yeah.
Yeah, because I was just in California a couple weeks ago, and I think I was the only person in a room that wasn't shooting up peptides. Like,
Right.
seriously, I was like,
It's
"What are
very
y'all like?"
It's
They're like,
very trendy. It's
Right.
everyone at the gym. People are asking me, well, everything got better when I started taking peptides, and they're talking to me about all the peptides, and it literally is people shooting them up in front of you. And I'm like, I don't know how
I don't know what to
who
feel
are you
about
working?
this.
Like, I'm not sure. I know. I just keep thinking anything that we put in the body, right? Like that's my brain goes down those rabbit holes of like, okay, what are the implications of this? And I guess I don't know a ton about it to be able to speak to it, this is where this is really helpful. But that's the first thing I think about is you're just injecting something into your body. Do you know what it's all doing?
Yeah, it's a huge concern. The flip side is, for almost the last 10 years, I've been focused on reversing Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and other brain disorders, and I've actually had good results with specific types of IV peptides
Mhm.
as part of a whole treatment
Sure. Yeah.
protocol. So I've seen firsthand, and I think what's happened is the word has gone out there that peptides can be helpful. And then there's this pressure, but you're exactly right. I wouldn't just jump on so and so said this peptide helped them, therefore I'm going to take this specific peptide. Guess what? You're different. You have potentially different needs, and no, you shouldn't get the lowest price peptide from whatever source, because
It's true.
The wrong one could definitely hurt you, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, that's no different than amino acids and even taking aminos, right? Like, just because you can buy something on a shelf, guys, or they're selling it at the Walmart and it's 50% off, does not mean you go stick it in your body. Like, think about it for a minute. Understand
It's
what
true.
you're doing.
It's
You know?
true.
So,
Well-
so as part of full disclosure, there is a GLP-1 agonist that I've been recommending to patients. It's over the counter. It's actually made in, or the idea came from New Zealand of all places. It's a extract of hops, and I know you both love coffee. Not coffee.
Yeah.
I know you love beer, but you're not filming this today in a brewery. It doesn't look like.
No.
No, okay.
No, we're not at our
Yeah.
pools like you are,
okay, all right,
Josh.
yeah.
No.
But it turns out that there's this specific hop extract that will stimulate the body into increasing GLP-1 levels a little bit, like maybe 5 or 6 times, not 6,000. So
Okay.
when a patient approaches me and said, Dr. Josh, I heard GLP-1s are good and I want to lose weight, I'll say that I've heard the same thing, but why don't we start lower and slower? Why don't we rely on your own body to produce the GLP-1 as opposed to putting it in a much, much higher dose later? And I say, if you try this oral approach to a much lower dose, it doesn't prevent you in the future from trying this. But to me, that's what's made sense. And not everyone has had good response. I'd say about half of my patients, they've lost some weight, they feel better, but the other half not so much. But yeah, so I'm an advocate for it, but I'm an advocate for doing your homework. And
Yeah.
it concerns me though that like the product I'm talking about is called CaloCurb, but it was actually the country of New Zealand, their own government funded the research behind this product.
wow.
But they decided not to market initially in New Zealand. They're like, oh, we're going to market it in the United States.
Of course.
I asked the New Zealand doctor, like,
So smart.
What's your experience with it so far? It's like he'd never heard of it.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yes. He has no idea.
bypassed
It's formulated
we
in your
went straight for
country.
the
But-
money. Yeah.
So, okay. So, Josh, do you ever... I still am trying to wrap my brain around root cause. And I know that
Sure.
that is it's a rabbit hole. That's fine. But do you ever sit with people, specifically when it comes to conversations about weight loss? Okay. And is there like a realization sometimes that you have when people tell you about their lifestyles, and it's just kind of like, that would actually be the solution for you, is to change your lifestyle?
Yeah, I definitely have that conversation. I would say with almost all of my patients, and not just for weight loss, but for Alzheimer's or brain disorders.
Right.
It turns out that any chronic condition, if you fix their lifestyle, they can improve. But my normal approach is, some people are open to talk about it. Some people are not. Some people are like, I just want my GLP-1. I just
Yeah.
want that weekly shot, and I don't want to exercise. I don't want to change what I'm eating. I don't want to work on my sleep or decrease my stress. I just want this magic cure. And that's what our society has been trained to do by marketing, I would argue.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
We get the same thing. Like, how dare a therapist talk about lifestyle? you
Right.
know?
I just think about like all the things that you aren't addressing and the things that you're not doing that are good for you and healthy for you, right? You were just going through the pillars: eat, sleep, move, meditate, right? The
Mhm.
people pay us a ton of money to go eat, sleep, move, meditate. Your
meditate.
problems will be fixed. Like seriously. like
It's true.
I'm really like devaluing some of this right now, but that's simple, but it's not, right? Because people don't want to do it. But I just think about that and it's like, okay, but when you're done with the drug or once we've worked you through these things, you not nurturing eat, sleep, move, meditate, it's all going to still be there. It's still going to be there.
Well, and why do you think it is just like, because I would argue if someone's on a GLP-1 for weight loss and their eating has changed because they're eating less and they're doing it for like a year or something, right? Like
Okay.
you are doing different things. You aren't eating the same amount that you were eating before. And then they stop the GLP-1 and the weight comes back just like any other weight loss journey they've been on, right?
Right.
Why is that? Because I know the hunger signaling and stuff comes back, and so that maybe they'll eat more. But do you think it's different if they taper down, slowly, or does that not even matter in the equation? Like,
I
what?
see.
Why is it?
Yeah.
Why
Yeah.
is it? Because they can start doing all the same things, but it didn't seem to matter in the research that you'd be the one person to avoid regaining the weight. Like,
No. So I don't think it matters much because I worked in a fasting center for a few years, True North, and I saw
mhm,
the same thing. You get someone to fast, in this case,
mhm.
water fasting for up to 40 days, and guess what? They're going to lose weight, but
Yeah,
guaranteed.
for sure.
Actually guaranteed by physics.
Right.
If
Mhm.
all you're doing is drinking water for
Science.
40 days, it's
Mhm.
it's, it's kind of like a physics equation, and yes, you will lose weight, but guess what? It did count how you refed, like people with autoimmune conditions. If
Mhm.
they quickly started eating the things that were causing inflammation, yes, they were more likely to redevelop the
Yep.
autoinflammatory autoimmune diseases. But
Sure.
in general, if people went back to exactly their same lifestyle, same food they're eating, exercise, etc., they would have the same problems. But we actually had some patients who they enjoyed, the American diet and not
Mhm.
exercising. And what they did is like 1 month every year, they would come to True North and do this water fast and then go back to their bad habits. But they were able to at least,
The workaround.
work around and sure,
The
that's
loophole.
better. Doing things like that, it's better than nothing. But realistically, unless you're training on how to deal with your addictions, they're going to come right back.
Yes.
Yeah, because I feel like there's still in that area, there still is a lot of patient blame. Like, well, you didn't change your lifestyle hard enough while you were doing all this stuff. So of course it's gonna come back, patient blame, right? Like
Mhm.
it would be hard pressed not to change something about your lifestyle during that time because you're not eating the same amount of food, period, which is a big change. But yeah, I feel like there's a lot of patient blame, but maybe a little bit more research uncovering how to help with maybe without the person having to be on the GLP-1 for the rest of their life,
Right.
or I don't
Right.
know, or just
Right.
the micro dosing or whatever. Yeah.
So what I would say, and this has been my experience with many people with addiction, it's
Mhm.
first of all, I don't blame them because most of those patients have high levels of toxins and infections that are causing inflammation in their brain, causing
Mhm.
low dopamine levels. And if we can get rid of the infections and get rid of the toxins, often the addictions go away. So no,
Interesting.
no, I don't blame them. I just think they have underlying conditions that have not yet
Yep.
been diagnosed.
Now they need to go and do a bunch of CBT and coloring in an inpatient facility somewhere, and that's going to fix
For
it,
90
Josh.
days.
For 90 days. And oh, God, drives me insane.
Right.
Drives me insane. But
Right,
yes,
but for example, if they got mold toxicity and Lyme disease and you fix both of those, they're no
exactly.
Yeah.
longer addicted and they don't want drugs and they just wanna, you know, they're healthy again and they just wanna live their life.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Do you have any more thoughts on general peptides for the general population that you'd like to
Sure.
share?
So obviously insulin is extremely important,
Mhm.
but with our modern high-fat diet, people develop insulin resistance,
Mhm.
which can turn into diabetes. And then, of course, now the GLP-1s are being recommended. So, but besides glutathione, um, other peptides, I mean, I'm definitely using some in my practice to help the brain, things like exosomes or RSF signaling factors that help regenerate the brain. But I
Yes.
think your question was kind of like for general. No, I don't recommend, apart from glutathione, because
Yeah.
most people out there are toxic. I mean, I'm finding the level of plastics in our environment is doubling every 14 years. And unfortunately, that's getting into the food supply into people. And I'm seeing that when I measure toxin levels in my patients. So for that reason, I'm pushing glutathione hard. I have a website, glutathionefirst.com, because I just think it's so
Ooh.
important. Glutathionefirst.com.
Mm.
But other, yeah, what's also scary to me and really sad is many of the peptides I would like to give my patients with brain disorders are very difficult to get in this country. I'll give you an example, something like cerebrolysin, which is used routinely in Europe for head trauma, is unfortunately not yet easily available in the United States. So, and I'm sure you've got listeners overseas, but
Oh, yeah.
and that's one reason why I may suggest patients go overseas if there's a specific peptide that's hard to get in this country.
Interesting. So I know glutathione comes in a variety of forms for the general consumer.
Right.
So when you talk about glutathione, are you talking about only IV, or are you talking about any other form, like to help our listeners out a little bit? What would you say? Mhm.
Sure. So to get the highest concentration into the brain of my patients, I'm definitely using IV. But in addition to that, I'm using sprays in the mouth and topical on the skin as a rescue. So that's my brain patients, dementia patients,
Mhm.
Parkinson's, etc. But for people who are just looking for prevention, no, you don't all have to go out and get IV glutathione. What I would start with is a spray of glutathione in the mouth that gets absorbed in the mouth, or topical on the skin where you don't have hair, so it can be absorbed through the skin. So those would be the two ways I normally advocate.
Yeah.
Awesome. Glutathionefirst.com. We will stick that in the show notes so you guys know
Thank
how to
you.
spell it, because the spelling is a little challenging. Anyway,
And, and
go ahead.
then there may be some people asking, like, Calo Curb, tell us more. Where can
Oh,
we
there it
get
is.
it?
Oh, look at
Yeah.
him.
There it
Look
is.
at him.
He's
Ca-
Oh
holding
my
it up on
God. She's
YouTube.
got it up, everybody.
Calo-
Get your ass on YouTube,
All right.
subscribe,
So
and
so
look at it.
and I'll just be upfront. I mean, if my patients buy it through my full script store, yeah, I earn a small amount of money, but that's not why I'm
Right.
recommending this as a way to start GLP-1s. It's because it's a much lower dose, and you're asking the body itself
Yeah.
to produce it.
Right.
Nice. I like it. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and giving us the positives and the negatives and a very balanced approach to GLP-1s and peptides. I really appreciate that a lot, because they are definitely trending. If you guys have hung out with us this far, make sure you give us a comment. What was your experience on a GLP-1 or other peptides? We'd love to know. And send us your Gaslit Truth at the Gaslit Truth Podcast at gmail.com. That's a wrap.
Awesome. Peace and plants.
Thanks for coming on, Dr. Josh.